There is a man you've never voted for, never met, and probably never heard of. And on May 15th, he becomes the single most powerful economic force in your life. More powerful than any senator, more powerful than any CEO, and he answers to no one. But on May 15th, this month, he steps into a role that controls the price of your home, the value of your dollar, and the direction of the entire American economy. His name is Kevin Warsh, and by the time this video is over, you're going to understand something most Americans never will. Why the government wants inflation to rise, why your savings might be getting quietly destroyed on purpose, and what smart money is already doing to protect itself. Stay with me, because the ending of this video will change how you see every financial headline for the rest of your life. Part 1. The Big Lie. Let's start with something nobody in the financial media wants to say out loud. The Federal Reserve Bank is not a bank, is not a reserve, and is not federal. I know, it says so right on their own website. You can't walk in and deposit money. There's no vault of cash sitting in the basement, and the United States government, your elected government, cannot legally tell it to do. So what is it? It's the most powerful unelected institution in the world. It has two superpowers. First, it sets interest rates. Second, it can create money from nothing. That's it. Two powers. But those two powers touch every corner of your financial life. Your mortgage, your car loan, your savings account, your investments, your retirement. Now, here's where it gets interesting. The man currently running the Federal Reserve, Jerome Powell, his term expires May 15th, and that means President Trump gets to appoint a replacement. Why does that matter? Hold on, I'll show you exactly how this plays out for your wallet. Part 2. The housing math. Before we go deeper, let's make this real with a simple number. Picture a $500,000 house. You put down 20%. You finance $400,000 with a 30-year mortgage at 7%. Your monthly payment, $2,661. Now, imagine the Fed cuts rates. Mortgage drops to 5.5%. Your payment falls to $2,271. Drops to 4.5%. Now you're paying around $2,026 a month. That's over $600 saved every single month, more than $7,000 a year, just from a number changing in a building in Washington, D.C. This is exactly what President Trump is pushing for. He's been saying it publicly, loudly, and repeatedly. America should have the lowest interest rates of any developed country on earth. And now, he's appointing someone to the Fed who he says agrees. But here's what nobody's telling you. The housing market is the smallest part of this story. What I'm about to show you goes so far beyond home prices. It touches something that affects every dollar you own. Give me 2 more minutes. Part 3. The economy engine. When mortgage rates fall, something else happens, quietly and at massive scale. Think about the last few years. Housing prices shot up 50% in many markets since 2020. That means millions of Americans who bought between 2020 and 2024 are sitting on equity, real value locked inside their walls. And if rates fall, people refinance. They pull that equity out as cash. Between 2020 and 2021, 14 million Americans refinanced their mortgages and extracted roughly $460 billion in cash. That money didn't sit in savings accounts. It got spent. Home Depot, Lowe's, contractors, restaurants, new cars, vacations. That spending moved through the entire economy. Now imagine that happening again, but with even more equity accumulated and even more people with reason to refinance. Realtors get paid, mortgage brokers get paid, title companies get paid, and then they go spend that money somewhere else. This is the chain reaction Washington is trying to trigger. But here's where the story gets dark. Part 4. The debt problem. The U.S. government collects about $5 trillion a year in taxes. Then it spends $7 trillion. That $2 trillion gap, they borrow it every year, without fail, whether it's a Republican or a Democrat in office. And that debt has been accumulating for decades. Right now, the United States carries approximately $39 trillion in national debt. Now, here's the number that should stop you cold. The fastest growing expense in the federal budget isn't the military, isn't healthcare, isn't Social Security. It's interest. In 2026, the government will spend roughly $1 trillion just on interest payments. That means 20 cents of every dollar you pay in taxes goes directly to paying yesterday's credit card bill. Not roads, not schools, not your retirement, just interest. Now, if the Fed cuts interest rates aggressively, the government can refinance that $39 trillion at a lower rate. Every 1% drop saves hundreds of billions of dollars a year. So yes, the president wants lower rates. Lower rates help home buyers. Lower rates stimulate spending. And lower rates dramatically reduce what the government pays on its debt. It all connects. But I haven't told you the most important part yet. Hi, I'm Ahmed Saber. I simplify money, investing, and success psychology for you. And what I'm about to show you is the part that almost no finance channel will touch because it's uncomfortable, historical, and completely real. Part 5. The Climax. Financial Repression. Go back to 1946. World War II is over. America is celebrating. But behind the scenes, the government is panicking. The national debt is $271 billion. The entire U.S. economy is only $222 billion. Debt bigger than the economy. Sound familiar? It should. We're there again, only with more zeros. In 1946, the debt-to-GDP ratio was 121%. Today, 130%. Worse than after World War II. So what did the government do back then? They didn't cut spending. They didn't raise taxes enough to close the gap. Instead, they did something that sounds almost impossible. They grew their way out of it. And here is exactly how. They set interest rates artificially low, below the inflation rate. So the government was borrowing money at, say, 2%, while inflation was running at 5%. In real terms, they were borrowing for free, actually better than free. The inflation was quietly erasing the value of the debt. Then they made it almost impossible not to lend money to the government. Banks, pension funds, insurance companies, institutions, all guided through law and policy into buying government bonds at rates that didn't keep up with inflation. The result? Savers got quietly poorer. The value of their money eroded over time, and the government got richer. The debt grew in dollar terms from $271 billion to $475 billion by 1974, but the economy grew even faster, from $222 billion to $1.5 trillion. Debt to GDP fell from 121% all the way to 25%. The debt didn't disappear, it got inflated away, made smaller relative to a growing economy. This is financial repression. And it worked. And the ingredients required for it to work again: low interest rates, higher inflation, a new Fed chair willing to cut even while inflation rises, government looking for ways to entice or pressure institutions to keep lending at below inflation rates, possibly coming. This isn't conspiracy. This is history. This is documented economic policy, and the conditions for a repeat are quietly lining up. Part 6. What this means for you. So here's the uncomfortable truth. If financial repression returns, savers lose. Holding cash while inflation runs hot means your money loses purchasing power slowly, silently, year after year. Wage earners get squeezed. Your salary grows at 3%. Inflation runs at 5%. You're getting poorer even when you get a raise. Debtors win, especially the biggest debtor of all, the U.S. government. And investors have a chance to win too, if they understand what's happening. Here are 5 areas worth understanding as this unfolds. Real estate and home builder stocks. When mortgage rates fall, housing activity rises. ETFs like VNQ, broad real estate, XHB, and ITB, home builders, capture this. Gold. When people fear inflation and dollar devaluation, gold historically rises. It's not a growth investment, it's a hedge. GLD gives paper exposure without storing physical bars. Tips. Treasury inflation-protected securities. These are government bonds where your return adjusts with inflation. Not a wealth builder, a defensive tool. SCHP is one vehicle. The S&P 500, the 500 largest U.S. companies. If the economy grows, even through borrowed money, earnings tend to follow. SPY tracks it. Companies that struggle get removed and replaced automatically. International diversification. If you're skeptical of the U.S. outcome, VEA, developed markets, and VWO, emerging markets, spread your risk globally. None of this is investment advice. These are frameworks, starting points, ways to think. The investor always wins when policy shifts. The question is only whether you're positioned to understand why before the headlines catch up. Here's what just happened in this video. A new man took the most powerful unelected job in America. He's being asked to cut interest rates, to stimulate housing, boost spending, and slash what the government pays on $39 trillion in debt. And if inflation stays elevated while rates stay low, we may be watching the early stages of a financial repression that history tells us makes governments richer and savers poorer. This isn't doom. It's not a prediction of collapse. It's a pattern, a repeatable